Welcome. Welcome to all, whether you're in the sanctuary or streaming this February 12th, 2023. If you're online, please sign into the chat box where you can contribute to our collective joys and concerns. I'm Victoria McDonald, assisting the Reverend Kevin Carson, and we are grateful for this beautiful day. We Unitarians are people of all ages, backgrounds, and beliefs. We are brave, curious, and compassionate thinkers and doers. We create spirituality and community beyond boundaries, working for more justice and love in our own lives and in the world. Unitarian Universalism affirms and promotes our 7 principles. We have a lot of pamphlets over there. The best one that gives them very succinctly is a children's pamphlet, and it has an octopus on the top, and it talks about our principles. And we are grounded in the humanistic teachings of the world's religions. Our spirituality is unbounded, drawing from scripture and science, nature and philosophy, personal experience and ancient tradition. Announcements. Please silence your phones. I think it's wonderful being unleashed from my phone's little beepings. After church, we're having our second Sunday potluck. If you didn't bring a dish, that's okay. You're welcome to join. We seem to always have enough food. We have a bunch of other announcements. So Wednesday, there's the Philosophical Society here, 7 p.m. On Friday, there are board games. That's February the 17th at 5 o'clock, also here. And there's a women's group that meets monthly, and we need some more people to offer their houses. And Molly Brinkerhoff, who's being very organized, made a list, and we would like you to sign up, please. Slips to write your joys and concerns are at the greeter's desk, back there by Judy. They will be read later, and a candle lit to honor them. Coffee hour. Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, it's the second Sunday potluck, so. Oh, okay. Yes, thank you. Okay. Yes, Cindy and I have been we're trying to duplicate Sadie and Bee, but we're not very good, and we need extra people to come because I think coffee hour is really important. And so we need just a little bit extra help. Jim Sathy is doing a magnificent job filling in. Rob? Okay. Oh, good. Okay. I didn't see him early. Okay. So, I'm just a human being and I make mistakes. Ringing the Peace Bowl. Before I ring the Peace Bowl, I'm going to read words by the well-known Anonymous that have helped me deal with our conflicted world. The ancient masters were profound and subtle. Their wisdom was unfathomable. There is no way to fully describe them, but their thoughts have been distilled. They were as careful as someone crossing an iced-over stream, alert as a warrior in enemy territory, courteous as a guest, fluid as melting ice, shapeable as a block of wood, receptive as a valley, and clear as a glass of water. Do you have the patience to wait until your mud settles and the water is clear? Can you remain unmoving until right action arises by itself? And now for the covenant. Is that what we do next? Ring the Peace Bowl. Thank you. Elizabeth had to remind me the last time I forgot to ring the Peace Bowl. Okay, here we go. Nope, I got to put it on this. It's been a while. peace below, peace. Feel free to join me in repeating our covenant. Love is the spirit of this community, and service its law. This is our covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. And now Reverend Kevin will light our chalice. We come to this solemn assembly bringing the flame of fire within us. May our flames blend together in the lighting of this chalice, the symbol of our commitment to bring warmth to our fellows through service to all. We pray that we may not be burned out, but be blessed by this flame of fire. Words by the Reverend Nihal Anton Atanyake of the Unitarian Church of the Philippines.
Good morning. And I wanted to mention that there is a dish full of Hershey's Kisses over there, so please help yourself in the spirit of Valentine's Day and help me get rid of them. It's in the loon dish on the table over there. So, our call to worship this morning is the poem, What is the Greatest Gift? By Mary Oliver. What is the greatest gift? Could it be the world itself, the oceans, the meadowlark, the patience of the trees and the wind? Could it be love with its sweet clamor of passion? Something else entirely holds me in thrall. That you have a life that I wonder about more than I wonder about my own. That you have a life courteous, intelligent, that I wonder about more than I wonder about my own. That you have a soul, your own, no one else's, that I wonder about more than I wonder about my own. so that I find my soul clapping its hands for yours more than my own. I invite you to rise in body or spirit and join us in singing our opening hymn, number 123, Spirit of Life.
Oh, it's on. Well, how about that? Okay. Georgia O'Keeffe is known for her flower paintings, but also for her paintings of the desert. She started her career in the Midwest and eastern United States, but once she saw the New Mexico desert, she moved there and painted it for the rest of her life. Georgia called the remote stretches of desert the faraway, and she worked to share her experience of it with all the world through her paintings. The story today is Georgia O'Keeffe Loved the Desert, and this is by Kate Coombs. Georgia loved the desert, the colors everywhere. Georgia was an artist. She lived and painted there. Georgia painted mountains in curves of blue and red. She painted cliffs and canyons and a black bird overhead. There she is up at the top of the mountain. You can't tell. Georgia loved the desert. She walked in it for hours. She painted cottonwood trees. She painted desert flowers. Yellow cactus blossoms, flowering jimson weed. Indian paintbrush, lilies, their petals, and their seeds. Georgia loved the desert. She painted desert bones. With a day moon peeking through, She painted desert stones. Do you love the desert? Do you love the sea? Draw it, paint it, sing it, whatever it may be. The end.
Are we going to sing time to get the kids out at 4? Say bye. Okay.
As we leave this friendly place, love give light to every face. May the kindness which we learn light our hearts till we return.
Joys and concerns. We have a concern, we have another concern, and we have a joy. I'm going to read the joy first. The care team, specifically Pam, brought me a wonderful care package, including lunch on Friday after my medical procedure on Thursday. So it's good to see Ron here. He's recovering. 2 concerns. From Ron also, my friend Marilyn Tom had serious surgery last Wednesday and is still in much pain. Judy Stanley, keep Anita in your thoughts for a swift recovery. And I have 3 joys. The first one, Karen Schaefer, has little pocket-sized versions of our Constitution and then also the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. If you would like to get those, ask her. I would like to also express my joy for the dogs that are over in Syria and Turkey, and they're still finding living beings. And of course, their trainers are essential. And I had another one, I've forgotten that. Anyway, thanks.
Our reading this morning is from the book A Religion of One's Own, A Guide to Creating a Personal Spirituality in a Secular World by Thomas More. Soul is the invisible, mysterious, and softly radiant element that infuses your body and makes you human. Like plasma in your veins, it gives you a sense of meaning, feeling, connection, and depth. If you have soul, you have a visible glow and are alive and present. When people encounter you, they see a real person. Without soul, we and our world are dead. Without soul, there is no real substance and value, no possibility for love and care, no heart and no real power or tenderness. Without soul, we live shallow and metallic lives, not really touching each other and not engaged with the world. Without soul, we feel a hollow emptiness and a vague sense of being lost. Without soul, many act out of their unconscious passions in antisocial behavior. When you encounter them on the street, they look past you, because there is a vacancy where the soul should be. Without soul, we become preoccupied with ourselves, because it's the soul that gives us a real life. When I think of a place having a soul, I remember the old homestead near Auburn, New York, where my family settled after immigrating from Ireland in the 19th century. The weathered barns and sheds, the rusty rakes and plows, the cozy, musty house without running water, and the antique smells of the kerosene stove and closed-up rooms. In my memory, the place reeks of soul. People often focus on the spiritual side of religion, beliefs, morals, eternity, and the infinite. But religion also has a soul. Like the old farmhouse, religion has its rich history of evocative teachings, paintings, architecture, music, and stories. It can feed the soul as well as inspire the spirit. What I remember most about my Catholic childhood is the smell of beeswax candles and smoky incense and mysterious chanting in Latin. To my soul, sensing was more important than understanding. Sensations remain in my memory, inspiring affection for the religion, while the teachings and admonitions fade. An offering to support the mission of this church will now be given and gratefully received. In 2003, Sarah Dillon Brewer, who is a fan of the Irish rock band U2 and a member of the Episcopal Church, designed a special Eucharist service featuring the music of U2 as her contribution to the book Get Up Off Your Knees, Preaching the U2 Catalog. This was not a shocking thing to do, since if you are familiar with the music of U2 and know much about the band, you'll know that the lead singer Bono, along with guitarist The Edge and drummer Larry Mullen Jr., are very religious. And many of the lyrics to the songs of U2 have spiritual themes and connotations without being overtly religious. Based on Brewer's work, the first so-called U2charist was held in Baltimore, Maryland on April 17, 2004. And as word quickly spread in the Episcopal Church, others were held around the country. Other Christian denominations adapted it for use as well. For the record, and probably showing my age, I too am a U2 fan, and I believe their 1987 album, The Joshua Tree, belongs in the top 10 or 20 of the most important albums in the history of rock music. And I also appreciate the spirituality of their music in songs like I Still Haven't Found What I'm Looking For. Speaking about that particular song in a 2019 interview on NPR, Bono described it as, quote, a gospel song with a restless spirit. I can certainly see that, and it could easily be the anthem for our service today. I would have used it as part of the music this morning, but we probably would get in copyright trouble with our live stream on YouTube. Incidentally, U2 encouraged the free use of their music for the U2 Eucharist services. This song, which is a Eucharist favorite, describes the unfulfilled quest and the struggle involved in a way that vaguely reminds me of the soul's eternal longing expressed poetically by the 16th century Spanish mystic John of the Cross in his famous work, The Dark Night. You may know the U2 song by heart, but if not, here's an example of the lyrics. I have climbed highest mountains, I have run through the fields, only to be with you, only to be with you. I have run, I have crawled, I have scaled these city walls, only to be with you. But I still haven't found what I'm looking for. But I still haven't found what I'm looking for. There are lots of proverbs and cliches about life or the spiritual journey being about the journey and not the destination. And there's plenty of truth to such sayings, of course, but what is often left unspoken is what kind of journey we are on, or where we think we are headed, or why we are on such a journey to begin with. Where does the spiritual longing come from that urges us to search for truth and meaning, sometimes even physically setting out on journeys to sacred places or walking pilgrim trails like the Camino de Santiago? What is the source of our blessed discontent with ordinary existence that urges us to study the teachings of the great spiritual sages and to seek our own experience of the sacred in whatever form it takes? Why are you in church this morning thinking about such things? My last question is the easiest to answer. If you are a professed Unitarian Universalist or even just visiting us for the first time, I suggest you fall into one or more of the following four broad categories. You are a lifelong UU whose parents raised you in our tradition. You are a come-outer from another faith tradition that at some point lost its appeal and sent you searching for something that seemed to be a better fit. You have been a wanderer in the spiritual desert for some time, perhaps coming from no religious affiliation at all, but feeling the urge to explore. Or you're simply someone looking for a welcoming community. Most of us can probably relate to two or three of these categories, and we recognize, or at least suspect, that there is value in finding a supportive spiritual community in our lifelong search for truth and meaning. Though the journey is unique to each of us as individuals, we need not travel the path alone. It is good, and I would say essential, to find others who will engage with us in a constructive spiritual exploration and who will simply be there when we need them. So if you're here or watching this online, you have already made a good decision that I hope will help you on your journey. I firmly believe that all of us are born with an inherent spiritual longing that is a fundamental part of being human, and it remains with us as long as we live. Even if we try to ignore it, or drown it out with consumerism or a constant stream of distractions, that longing will find a way to bubble up and demand our attention. However you imagine the soul to be, whether as just a metaphor or as having some kind of real existence, something deep within our beings, within our soul, feels a connection to something larger and mysterious in the cosmos. You may find it useful to call it God, or as I prefer, the sacred mystery. Or maybe the universe itself or the web of all existence has more meaning for you. No matter what, each of us is capable of opening ourselves to feeling the restless longing of our soul to connect with this mysterious something. Is the feeling expressed by the author of Psalm 42 in the Hebrew Scriptures, who wrote, "As a deer longs for flowing streams, so my soul longs for you, O God. My soul thirsts for God, for the living God." How we choose to pursue this spiritual longing is what defines our religion, which is really more of a verb than a noun. And this is ultimately an individual encounter with the sacred, no matter how traditional or orthodox the context of our religious expression may be. As Mahatma Gandhi once said, "In reality, there are as many religions as there are individuals." Most people assume that being religious means that you belong to a particular faith and profess a certain accepted set of beliefs. But like a handful of other faiths, this is not true of Unitarian Universalism. If you wish to become a Roman Catholic, for example, you're expected to take catechism classes that teach the essential doctrines and creeds of the Church. And once you profess these beliefs and fulfill any sacramental requirements, you are welcomed into membership. This was even true of Unitarians a few centuries ago, who could provide you with a copy of their own Rakovian catechism to learn the basics of the faith. But we have since grown much more pluralistic and inclusive. To be a Unitarian Universalist today is to be free to explore whatever spiritual paths present themselves to you within a supportive community of fellow seekers, as long as you share our basic ethical values. We provide a smorgasbord of spiritual food to consider, but we don't tell you what to eat. We offer no easy answers about what to believe or a set of required practices for expressing those beliefs. It may sound easy at first, but I often say that ours is a difficult faith because we are honest about the sometimes difficult individual spiritual journey that each of us must follow. We are open to exploring spirituality from any source, but we recognize that each of us must search for the soul of our own religion. Like most religious professionals, as a Unitarian Universalist minister, I lead worship services, provide pastoral care, and perform rites of passage like weddings and memorial services. And I feel the need to be a visible public witness for many social justice causes. But unlike clergy in many other faiths, I am not here to tell you the truth of our beliefs, or to serve as an intermediary between you and the divine. Sorry, but I am not here to absolve you of your sins so you can get right with God, even if I believed that was necessary. In the worship services I lead and the classes I teach, I offer some religious ideas from my own studies that you might want to consider. And I'm here to be a facilitator for helping you on your own spiritual journey. And in fact, I think all of us play a role in facilitating the spiritual journeys of our neighbors. Hearing about each other's experiences of the sacred in classes or in conversations during coffee hour can be powerful. We joke about having questions for all your answers, but there is a lot of truth in that. If you spend enough time in a UU congregation, you will encounter all sorts of spiritual practices, ideas, and challenges to your own beliefs. There are many paths we may choose to explore and search for the soul of our religion, and it is very common to follow different paths at different points in life, or to explore more than one at a time. The important constant is in this process is to remain open and aware of the sacred along the way. Thomas More, who is a former Catholic monk and now as a psychotherapist and spiritual writer, identifies as a religious humanist, writes, "When you're religious in a deep way, you sense the sacred in all things, a faint and mysterious pulse. Both in the world and in yourself, you catch sight of the numinous, a hint of something more than human. In developing a religion of one's own, it is important to cultivate an eye for the numinous, a sacred light within things or an aura around them. It's simply a capacity in human beings to catch a glimpse of the infinite in a finite world, or deep vitality and meaning in what would otherwise be hollow and only material." For too many people today, the secular world is indeed a hollow and meaningless place, even for some who express a vague sense of spirituality or attend church regularly. It is no wonder that depression and anxiety affect the mental health of millions. Cultivating a personal search for the soul of one's religion can be hard work, but it is a holy endeavor that opens you to glimpses of the sacred within the secular world in a way that can be very joyful and satisfying. At times, we may experience a feeling that satisfies the mysterious longing in our souls, even mystical experiences of unity. But such feelings usually don't last very long, and we are left to continue on our journey. If you're fortunate, you may find a single religious tradition, such as Buddhism or Judaism, that nurtures your journey for decades or even a lifetime. But for others, including the vast majority of UUs, it is appealing and useful to try many spiritual sources to see what resonates with your soul. We are all human beings and heirs to the world's cumulative spiritual wisdom. And in my opinion, nothing is off limits for us to explore if we are respectful and put in the effort to understand the cultural context from which a teaching or practice emerged. Just being imitative or adapting a ritual in a way that dishonors the original intent should be avoided. But many people have demonstrated the human capacity to transcend cultural differences. Westerners have become respected teachers within Eastern traditions, and a few have even been accepted as shamans among indigenous peoples. The danger of our spiritual smorgasbord is the temptation to merely browse and nibble instead of committing to a deeper exploration of a single path. Because it is a spiritual journey, it would probably be more accurate if I had titled my sermon today, "Searching for the Soul of Your Religion," instead of "Finding the Soul of Your Religion." But I went with "finding" to make a point that you can discover comfortable places on your journey that endure. The soul of one's religion is usually a cumulative phenomenon that blends where we have already been with what we have newly discovered. Like the smell of beeswax candles and incense described in our reading this morning, I encourage you to incorporate all your sense memories and experiences, as long as they're not traumatic, into the soul of your religion as it presents to you now. If nothing else, they can be a sounding board for validating the spiritual truth you have uncovered so far. There is beauty in almost every religion that humans have created, so we should not be too hasty in discarding everything about our past religious experiences. So how do you know if you have found the soul of your religion? Especially acknowledging that it can be an ineffable and transient waypoint along a lifelong spiritual journey. I think you have found it when you can articulate what you have found to be your sacred ultimate concern, when you align your values and choices with that ultimate concern, and when you act from an awareness of the sacred. It is the sentiment described in one of my favorite quotes from the theologian Gordon D. Kaufman, who imagined God as the serendipitous creativity at work in the universe. He said, to believe in God is to commit oneself to a particular way of ordering one's life and action. It is to devote oneself to working toward a fully humane world within the ecological constraints here on planet Earth, while standing in piety and awe before the profound mysteries of existence. There is so much more to the soul of your religion than beliefs. And finding this sometimes elusive soul is the journey of a lifetime that will be fraught with dissatisfaction at times. There will be many times when you may want to crank up some U2 and let the spirit of the lyrics wash over you. But oh, what an incredible journey it is. I invite you to rise and body your spirit once again and join in singing our closing hymn, number 6, Just as Long as I Have Breath.
Just as long as I have breath, I must answer yes to life. Though with pain I made my way, still with hope I meet each day. If they ask what I did well, tell them I said yes to life. Just as long as vision lasts, I must answer yes to truth. In my dream and in my dark, always that elusive spark. If they ask what I did well, tell them I said yes to truth. Just as long as my heart beats, I must answer yes to love. Disappointment pierced me through, still I kept on loving you. If they ask what I did best, tell them I said yes to love.
Our closing words are the poem The Journey by Mary Oliver. One day you finally knew what you had to do and began, though the voices around you kept shouting their bad advice. Though the whole house began to tremble and you felt the old tug at your ankles. Mend my life, each voice cried. But you didn't stop. You knew what you had to do, though the wind pried with its stiff fingers at the very foundations, though their melancholy was terrible. It was already late enough, and a wild night, and the road full of fallen branches and stones. But little by little, as you left their voice behind, the stars began to burn through the sheets of clouds. And there was a new voice, which you slowly recognized as your own, that kept you company as you strode deeper and deeper into the world, determined to do the only thing you could do, determined to save the only life that you could save.
Please join with me as we extinguish the chalice, the words that are in your order of service. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.